Trading the foreign exchange market carries high risk and may not be suitable for all investors. Trading on margin, utilizing leverage can carry an even higher level of risk that can lead to a complete loss of investment funds. So before deciding to trade the foreign exchange market or using any of our software alert products, you should carefully and diligently consider your personal investment objectives, level of experience, and risk tolerance. There is a possibility that you could potentially sustain significant loss. You should not invest any capital or trade that you cannot afford to lose. It is your responsibility to be aware of and understand all risks associated with foreign exchange trading and to seek professional advice from an independent certified financial advisor if you have any doubts. Auvoria Prime does not exercise trading authority over your trades. You and you alone exercise discretionary trading authority over every trade.
And today's June 3rd. We have a couple red folders. There's one at 10 o'clock with the U.S. Looks like it's an ISM service report. There was a gold or oil, I believe, is on at 8:30, but I'm not seeing it here. Keep in mind that unemployment claims. Keep in mind tomorrow is non-farm payroll Friday. It's the first Friday of every month, and that usually has a red folder activity to it, and it does get a little bit violent sometimes. 11 o'clock, we have a crude oil inventory report, so be aware of that when it comes to anything that's Canadian or oil related, which is the Canadian, as this, the CAD is the, that's the one you're going to be watching for a lot with that. And then there's Bank of England, Governor Bailey speaks at 12 o'clock. We'll be out of here by then. I don't know if there's going to be another session at 12 o'clock. I think Corey may be doing it today at 12 o'clock.
There is.
You may want to take a peek at that when the time comes. And let's see what the heat map is showing. Right now we're showing that the British pound is strong. The dollar was very strong earlier today. It looks like it's starting to give up a little bit of strength. They had a real strong, the S&P had a real strong move to the downside. NASDAQ, everything followed pretty much along with that overnight session. So we might start seeing a little bit of a rebound with the S&P, the NASDAQ, and the likes thereof. So we'll be taking a peek at that and paying attention to it. And let's go over to and now we should see our arrow screen, and we'll just start looking for some trades to see what we have to go with. I'm just I like looking at the index, especially this time of day for the German 30 and also for the UK 100. We're starting to pay attention to that one a little bit more, and because we are in their live sessions now, so they're in full swing. We're waiting for the U.S. markets to open up at 9:30, and so we'll just kind of keep our powder dry. Usually, we'll start seeing some moves around 8:30ish, between 8 and 9 o'clock. We might start seeing some moves for the NASDAQ and the S&P 500. That we'll take a look at as well. But you can see that a lot of these indexes really took a pretty good little drop overnight. UK 100, that dropped. Let me get on a 15-minute screen here. And let's see. Yeah, that one's still dropping. No turnaround point on that one in the imminent future here. Let's see where the bounce may be. This would be the range I'd be looking at from all the way down here to the top part. So I'm going to be drawing. I'm going to get my template up. And let's see. Load. And let's see, I'm going to draw the range. Right now, the price is over here. You can see where here's the pivot high right up here. There's a pivot low right here. Right now, the price is in between this on this 30-minute chart. I'll usually find a clean zone where from green to red and draw the main Fibonacci's from that in that range. And then I'll start looking to see where the turnaround points may be along that. So since this was in an uptrend, I'm going to draw it from the low to the high. Pretty much from here to, we did get a little bit of a poke through up at the top. It did come up and retest this high right here. So we're going to draw that. And then we're going to put the zones in, which is the 38.2, the 50, and then the 61.8. Do that, and we're going to take the upper 25 and lower 25% of that range. So we're going to take it from here to the I'll just put it over here to where the end of the day is, because I usually redraw these every day. This is the upper 25, actually it's the upper 23.6%. And then we have the lower 23.6%, which is actually right here at the 76.4 to the 0 to the 100 line. So here's where the range is. And this is, I have drawn this on a 30-minute chart. We can go back down to and now I'm actually basically going to be looking to see where the strong move down is. It's crossing through these three levels. So it's already pretty much done with this move, but I would expect maybe a bounce off of this level right in here. Let's go down to a 15-minute chart and see if there's a zone or anything there. 5 minutes. So we do have a green zone. The green zone is right below this. So this thing could go down a little bit deeper into this blue shaded area, but I'm looking for a come down, pull out of it, come back down, retest it, have another trend line somewhere down in here. We don't know where that's going to be. Let's take the ray off of that just for, and so I'm basically looking for this to come down, bounce out of here, come back down into the zone to retest the zone, not going any lower than, to stay higher than this little point right here. And then we'd be looking for the up move to try and catch it on the upside up towards that zone right there. That's sort of the fact that that's the structure I'm looking for. That's the picture I'm looking for. And we'll just have to see if we can find it. And let's see. Anything you want to add to that, Matt or Eva?
Nope, it's good on my end.
Let's see.
Not at the moment. I'm just looking for a setup there.
Yeah, I'll just see if we can find something here.
I wish I would have been up at 6 o'clock, man. That drop would have been the trade of the trade of the last 2 weeks at least.
Yeah, trade of the month probably. And let's see, here we're looking at the Euro Swiss. Now we did say that right now the Euro, as far as the strength goes, it's actually, let me do this. I'm going to, so you can see what I'm looking at when I do this. Here's my heat map. And so I'm looking at, right now I'm looking at on these indexes, I'm looking at the US dollar for the index for the S&P and the NASDAQ. I'm looking for the euro when it comes to the German 30, and I'm looking for the British pound, the strength of the British pound to the UK 100. The stronger these currencies are, the weaker the index is probably going to be, relatively speaking. So right now you can see that the British pound is on the, it's a stronger, is one of the strongest currencies. If you go to the UK 100, again, you're looking to see where it's in a downward trend, so you would be taking shorts on that. I don't know if that always holds true, but that's certainly something that you would want to be paying attention to. And so right now we're just basically looking for strong moves down, pull back, coming to come down, and try and get a few pips out of the move. And let's see what else we got here. You know, and as this thing starts working its way down, I'd like to see it start drawing as it crosses these orange lines. I'd like to see cross over, close below, get the pullback, and then use the next line for a target. Crosses over, closes below, pulls back. Then we could be looking at, that's where the reversal is, especially when you get down to the lower levels. When you get below the 61 or above the 38.2, that's when you start looking for the reversals. And if it keeps on going down, then you're probably looking for the reversal down the blue zone. But usually this is the meat of the move that you want to try and catch, the meat in between here and here, and then let the other sort of take its let the swing turn around, let the turnaround come, and then start going back to the upside again. And let's take a look at gold. We know gold's going to be a question here. Matt was showing me a new system of how Matt's been looking at prices, and so I'm not going to demonstrate that. Maybe Matt may want to at some point in time today. I'm not going to, until I get more comfortable with it, I'm not going to be using that as my criteria for the trades here.
Yeah, no, let's hold off on that for a bit. Like I trade that daily with the German 30 and the other indices, but let's just say that it's not something that's very, like, it's not as simple as arrow, and it's not as like green go, red stop kind of thing. So give it another couple weeks, and we'll try to simplify it.
Yeah. So we're not going to be in any big hurry to put anything new. We're just trying to,
Oh, no.
with what we have is working. We don't want to muddy the waters, so to speak. There's a lot of different ways of trading and making things work. We're just trying to stay consistent and concise, and also not to confuse everybody's here. We're just going to, as we go along, we'll keep adding things, but we don't want to do that.
Yeah, we don't want to stray away. We don't want to stray away from what's working, because in the end, it's not about your wins. It's about keeping your losses small. And the way that we've been doing that has been just absolutely fantastic. People that think they're not going to lose a trade, they're going to wake up pretty soon, because everyone's going to lose a trade every once in a while, and you're going to need to know how to have that tighter stop loss. And I think that's where Hawkeye really shines, is having that tight stop loss where you don't need to worry about being in drawdown for 40 pips or 30 pips, right? You don't want that. That's not good for your head, and it's definitely not good for your emotions either.
So, and basically what we're looking at doing, it always starts to get to be relatively simple. I look to see the range where there's a green zone and a red zone, nothing in between. And then I see where the price is in between that range. So once this establishes and I'm trying to go from low to high if it's in an uptrend, or high to low if it's in a downtrend. This was basically in an uptrend. Right now it's pulling back into, this is what I call, you can see, we call this the money zone here because of the time from the London Open right here till about 2 o'clock in the afternoon in the New York session. But you can also see where a lot of times right in that where the money zone is right where the 38 to 61% is. And so we just try and catch this little move right in here. This is the part we're trying to catch. We're trying to use these for the extremes for the entries and for the exits. So what I did is I drew the Fibonacci from the green zone to the red zone. There was nothing in between over here. And that was my range. I have my 38, my 50, my 61. These are all the retracements of this big range. These are my target zones to the downside and my target zones back to the upside until it breaks out of this range. So this is all pretty fixed. And then I'm going to be drawing my shape, get my upper 25, which is, I put it right in here. And you can see where these red zones, that arrow draws for us. That helps us determine where the turnaround points are, where the price action which generated those zones. And I'll go to the upper 25, I'll go to the lower 25. And this is basically, what it does, this is establishes my playground for the day. And I'm just looking to try and trade as it extends out, comes back in, as it starts crossing to the upside, we'll be looking to catch it. But these Fibonacci's are pretty much standard. I can take once I draw the lines, and I can take this off from my objects list and take that Fibonacci off there, keeping the zones that I marked. And now I can use this to go to a lower time frame. I'll usually like the 15 minutes or the 5 minute for the actual turnaround. And I'm looking to see where the bounces are. I can get this thing to pull back up. You see right now it's in between these zones. So right now I'd be looking, right now we have the bounce here, but it's in this right at where that lower 25. So this thing could still keep on going lower. And we're looking for I'm looking for the turnaround wedge. Here's our strong move down, came back down, pivoted up. Here's a low, here's a higher low, and this is just a little bit of a wick lower than this is pretty much right in line. So I'm going to draw my trend. This is the point I don't want to see get broken, this one here, on this down move as it's coming into this zone. And there's a good chance this trend line is going to get broken. It's going to get broken right into this blue zone. So right now I'm looking at the gold, and we can look and see where the dollar is to the gold. Right now the dollar is still it's right about in the middle, so there's no real clear direction for the dollar. In fact, gold's trading against the dollar, we would use that. And then we'll come back to the charts here. And so right now with gold, I would just I'll just be patient with gold. I just wait until it gets done doing what it's going to do. But you see, it's in a downtrend right now from on the 1 minute chart. I'm using gold because I know it's inevitable. Someone's going to want to look and talk about it.
I don't think you're done yet for the day talking about it.
And so this is the pivot. Now here is the first pivot. This one got broken, but you see this green zone was developed way over here to the left. Came down, tested it, pulled back. This was a strong rejection of this zone. That means there's a lot of buyers coming in at this level with the gold. Came back down, went a little bit deeper, it formed our trend line. And actually the trend line could have been, I could have taken it off at this point right here. But you can see this little wick, it did go a little bit lower. It was rejected, so I'm just moving that down a little bit closer. Then we have a trend line from here to here, and we'll see where that goes. And so right now, this thing is on a 1 minute chart. You can really see these pivot areas where it gets rejected. So here's the anchor. Here's the first hit. Came back down. Actually made a new low. It didn't really close below. It couldn't close below this pivot. It did close lower than this low closed, but it couldn't close below this pivot point. And so right now we're looking for the turnaround coming back up as it works its way through. I still think this thing has some room to the downside till it gets into this blue area. So right now we're just looking for the pullbacks. And let's see here if we can even. I'd like to see the straw move back down. Here's a straw move down, slight pullback. Straw move down, slight pullback. Straw move down, slight pullback. If I see 3 of these, I'm not real anxious to take the 4th one. And now I'm looking for the turnaround, especially as it's bouncing. This is the first bounce off the zone. Here's the second bounce, went a little bit deeper. This one may go a little bit deeper still. But right now, we're just going to wait for this thing to turn around. This is probably going to go and retest. See, that's a trend line here. So it's already passed through 3 of these zones. Here's the first one. There's the second one. Here's the third one. Now we're coming back into the lower 25. And I would expect to see a turnaround, but I'm going to wait for the turnaround, see if it come back out. Strong move up, come back down, retest it. This one made a new low, so I want to see this move down. I want to see this point here hold. If it doesn't hold, we start all over again. Wait for it to come back down. Eventually, it may come in here. It may not. It may just turn right around up here. But right now, I'm looking for this thing to go to reverse and go long more so than to keep on trying to catch it to the downside. That's my assessment on gold. And let's see, what else do we have here? Anything else popping up here? CAD Swiss. Let's see where the CAD Swiss is. CAD Swiss. Swiss is strong to the CAD. Remember, we have some oil inventory report coming out later on this morning, so be careful with the CAD. Swiss is stronger to the CAD. Swiss is stronger to the CAD. Swiss is stronger. Right now, I'd be looking at taking it to the short side in favoring of the strength to the Canadian dollar. So we have a CAD Swiss. There's a 30-minute short. So right now we're saying the Swiss is the second currency of the pair. The CAD Swiss, second currency. The second currency is the strongest. The Swiss is strongest, so we're looking to strength to the downside. Here's our zone. We have this is the bigger zone from here all the way down to here. Here's the rejection. Here's the trend line. Here's our upper trend. And so right now, from the last couple of days, it's making lower highs. And it's making, this is there's a low, and then, well, let's see, we don't really have the first pullback here. We do have this strong push here, came back down. We could draw out the line from this point using this for the reference. That's a pretty steep angle. Right now I'm looking to see this one get broken. And then I'm going to see where the Fibonacci's are. So the fact we have, here's a high, here's the low, and this was the rejection. So I'm just going to take the fib from this point all the way down to here to the downside. Let me get all my moving averages together. This is on the CAD Swiss. Draw my fibs. Let's see. Doesn't really matter if you draw from high to low because the points are going to be the same. It's just a matter what the numbers are. But whether I draw from high to low or from low to high up here and reverse these numbers, it's all going to be. So right here's these are the zones. These are our target zones to the downside. Here's one. Here's number two. Here's number three. Go to lower time frame. That's the 30-minute. Let's go to a 15. See what it looks like on the 15. Marker upper and lower 25%. There's the bottom range. And here's the top range. I'll just take it right from here over, since that's the last bar. See, now we're looking at, so right now we have it came up, tested this. Let's see, where's our high here? Let's get a trend line in there. Here's the high. Here's the last rejection right in here. And now it's pulled out of the 25. Now I'm pretty much kind of waiting for this thing to come back up. I'm going to start looking at this now for the pullbacks off of this strong move. There's a strong move down here, looking for the pullback. Let's go to our 1 minute chart. Expand it out. The zones haven't changed. Our target zones haven't changed any. And I'm looking for, I'm going to start until we get, as we get through this. See, this was the first zone closed. Here's the target. So I'm going to be looking at the Fibonacci's from, see, the last high that it held. So I'm going to go with, I'm just going to take it from up here and see where this pullback comes in. And right now, this thing came back up into, it's retesting this moving average. I want to see all the moving averages going in the right direction. Like here's the 200, the 62, the arrow, and then our 13 and 5. We had the crossover pullback. This was actually a fairly strong pullback coming up to retest this thing. So right now, I kind of stay out of this thing for right now. Double check to make sure, see where the strength is on our Swiss. And the Swiss is still strong, still strong, still strong. Still want to take this thing to the downside. So I'm looking for the pullbacks. This is pretty much the origin of the, actually I kind of move this thing down a little bit. If I can. Kind of like this high a little bit better. This was the first move down. Here was the rejection. So I kind of like this one. Strong move down, rejection. Looking at the range on this. And it pulled back into the, let's see, let me get too many lines on here. Let me remove some of this. I'm going to use this point right here. I said we're still looking at where this thing's still trending down, looking for the pullbacks. From this point to this point. Pull back to the 61. The extension now is going to be all the way down here to the 61, which is pretty much going to be this level right in this area.
Al, when you're finished doing like your own setups here, could you have a look at the Canadian yen? Kevin would
Which
like
one?
your opinion. The
Euro yen?
Canadian yen. Yeah, Kevin would like your opinion on it.
Okay, all right. Let's finish this one up first here, and let's see where we at here. I like this move down. Actually, I kind of like it a little bit better. I kind of like this a little bit better. As where it tested the trend line. Pull back to the 38. I don't know if we have enough room now at this point in time or not. It's getting pretty close to this green zone. That's only a couple pips. And that's only 9 pips till we get to the third line. Although I think this one could possibly be a possibility. I'll show you our pullback target. Or maybe a little bit slow in getting this thing. But here's the pullback 38. I like pulling back. I like seeing the pullbacks between the 23 and the 50. That's the zone I'm looking for. And it pulled back right to the 38, to this level right here on the pullback. There's just not that much room before this strong bounce. And that was a pretty strong move to the upside. I'm just going to hold off on that. The fact it broke this little pivot right here on the upside, it shouldn't have done that. Here's a strong move down, pulled back, strong move down, pulled back and reverse and covered that. So I'm looking for right now, this thing may give us one of these little deals here where this is the trend that we're looking for. Now it's not all the way down to the blue zone, but we do have to respect this green zone right here for it. It's going to have to get through that. If we can get through this zone, then we have some room to the downside, and that's 9 pips. Looking for 15. So we can get a see, that's 11. This little point right here. I'd like to see come down, pull back to the 11 to this point right here before it goes down as it enters into this area. That was euro yen, Eva?
It was CAD yen.
CAD yen.
Mm-hmm.
CAD yen. Look at this one. 15-minute chart. I'll start with the 15. Put my moving averages up. And right now I'm seeing this thing in an uptrend with a pullback. I'm going to take it from, so we have two choices. We could take it from this one all the way up. We could take it from this one on up. We're on a 15-minute chart. Let's see where we are on a 30-minute. I think we're going to go with this zone. We'll see how wide this zone is. This thing is, that's only 35 pips. I like to see a 50 pip range, and this one's only 35, so I might go down to this one here. Let's see if I can get 50 out of this. Yeah, I like this one better. Here's our uptrend. Put my lines.
Can I ask a question, Al?
Sure.
You say that you're looking for 50 pips from zone to zone, basically, or from pivot to pivot. So what about with the zone that's in the middle, though? Like, how does that play into that part?
Well, we have to respect it. And you can see this zone in the middle is right in between our 3 lines here.
So why wouldn't you
I'm going to be looking for a bit of a balance. But if we go too close, we're not going to have the range in between to be able to even take the trade.
Okay.
So that's so no, like right now, if you look between the blue lines, we have let's see, right from the 23 to the 38, let's just call that. We have 7 pips there. I like seeing 7 pips in between these zones, between the 20, 38 and the 50 to 61. I like seeing somewhere around 7 pips. And if we have, so right there, there's 7 pips. If we go lower than that, if I move this thing up and use, oh, come on. If I use the lower one, now if you look at between the range, you're looking at probably 3 pips. That's just not enough to make your moves. Okay. So if you have at least a range of 50 pips, that gives you that 7 pips that I look at in between these zones, and that gives you a little bit better odds of getting your spreads and getting your target out of it.
Okay.
And I may actually start using that as a criteria when I draw these things, because sometimes you have a nice zone, but it's so tight you just don't have the room. If you have a 2-point spread, let's see, what's the spread on this one right now? This is the CAD Swiss. The spread on the CAD Swiss is,
CAD yen.
or CAD yen, excuse me.
1.1.
Yeah, CAD yen is 1.2. So if you only have a three-point spread, do you get, pay the dealer in and out? That's 3 points. You don't really have enough room, and then you're trying to get 7 or 5 pips out of it. You're going to need at least 2 of those zones to make it worth your while, or at least go from half to the other one. So this way, at least this way, if I go in between the 2 of these and go down to the next zone, I can get my 7 pips out of that. So that's one of the criteria that I like to look at.
Always a student. I learn something new every single day.
I said the zones are too tight. There just isn't enough room to be able, even though it fits the criteria, it doesn't. There's just not enough room to make the trade. Here's my lower 25. Let's see, and then here's my zones. There's a 61. Here's a 50. Here's a 38 right where it is right now. It went up, came back down, went back up into it, came back down. Here's my move down as it's making its way down to the downside. So check our heat map, see where the yen is. Yen is stronger to the CAD. This is CAD Swiss, I believe you're looking at. So
CAD yen.
CAD yen. Yes, thank you. I keep saying so the yen is stronger than the CAD yen is stronger. I'd like to see a little bit more of a spread on the 30 and 15. But right now I'm only getting a 2-point spread, but it is getting stronger. I do have it on the 5-minute chart. So it is moving in the right direction. So right now I'm going to be looking at, I'm going to redraw my fib lines. Now I'm looking at the target on the downside coming back for the pullback for the next target. Here we do have this zone right here. And from here to the pullback was, let's see, there's 12 pips. That was a nice little pullback. Just didn't get here's the alert. So we did have an arrow right here. So this is a bounce arrow go. Here's the zone. From this one to here, that's only, but again, it still wouldn't have qualified for a bag trade because on the 15-minute chart, we're looking for 20 pips. It came back down. We didn't get the 20. Now this thing probably, there's a good chance it's going to go deeper. Let's go to a 5-minute chart and see if we can get all the, I want to see all these moving out in the right direction.
Good morning.
Matt, we can hear you talking to someone.
Oh, I apologize. Sorry, guys.
And so right now I'm going to remove these fib lines. I'm going to keep the zones that I drew. Keep the objects, and I'm going to redraw the fib line to the downside. So we have the zones. Here's our first move down. Here's the pullback. And we're going to look and see where the target would be. I like this point right here. This was the first rejection. Coming on down. Came back down. Pulled from here to here, up to here. This is 61%. So we'd be looking for a 61% extension target, which would be down here, which is pretty much into the zone. But we have this to worry about. Plus, we didn't get the bounce with an up arrow. We did get the bounce off of this arrow up and down. So right now, a little bit late to the party on this one. This would be the target. Here's the pullback. That's a 16-pip pullback.
So in trading, I like what you said, Al. You said a little late to the party on this one. Well, in trading, sometimes it's better not to show up at the party at all if you're going to be late.
Yep.
Because then there's ramifications that you don't want to deal with.
This is the target. So basically, I like to be able to get in. If this thing can pull back to this area right in here, I would be willing to take this straight short. So here's my target. And I was looking at this area right in here. because what happened to be happening then is it made a low, made a lower. So we have a trend line coming in down here. So here's the first one. Here's the first. Now if it comes down and comes back and retests where I can get like a 15 pip target, and then it comes back. So this would be the first wave, second wave, third wave. So we could get a nice third wave coming down here. But I'd like to set, this is my entry zone right in here. I want to see it come back and give me a chance, because that way, even if it comes back and retests this one, at least I could maybe get my 7 pips out of it. So I'm going to see this thing pull back, come up in here, and then give me another little bit of a low. Here's my upper trend line. But I'm looking at this as being the first wave. Let's take a look on a 1 minute chart. Expand it out. And we have this little zone right here, this little pesky zone right here to look at. And
is there any indication, Al, that the trend is going to change on this?
Well, I think it's very possible. There is some push to the downside. Let's see where the yen is strong and strong. We're starting to get the spread here. So this one hasn't changed much. We do have it on the 15 minutes, so I still want to be trading to the favor of the yen. So I'm looking for the pullback. Yen is the second currency of the pair. Moving averages are in the right direction. Here's the green, yellow arrow, 200. I want to see this thing pull back up to, if they can see it pull back anywhere near into this zone, I'm actually even be willing to maybe take it down a little bit, about halfway here. So I'm looking for a pullback up into here, retesting this trend line right in this area. I want to have at least no more than 10 pips stop. That's 5 pips. So I'm looking for the pullback. There's another down arrow. Here's our low. Here's our higher low right in here. So here's a higher low. Come over here. Here's a higher low. This is just the first wave. I'm just looking for it to come back up here. If everything's still looking with the strength of the yen, I'll be willing to take this. Now, right now, at this point, right now, I'm looking for this green moving average to come up, but not cross and close above the yellow. This one's still pointing down. This one's still, all these are still pointing down. This is a pullback. I'm looking at this as being a pullback. If it can come up into this zone, I'll do a sell stop up, or a sell limit at 90. Well, we could do one of two things. We could do a sell limit at the 90.96, or we could wait for it to come up and then come back and retest this little green line for an entry. Because this thing could still keep on going up a lot higher. This is where I like to have it start, turn around, come down, and then come back down and get me in. Because I don't really know where the top of this pullback is going to be. I suspect it's going to be right around where it is. Right. This is the sell line. If I were to do a market order right now, I'd be getting the price of the white line. And if I want to buy, I'd be getting the price of the red line. So if I get a break of this, we have this little trend line right here. If we get the break of this trend line, come down, break, come back up, retest it. Now the question would be, do I have room here? So that's only 2 pips. I say once it comes back up and tags this, then I'm going to come and try and maybe get a sell stop at the 23.6 line. That or the sell stop right there. That was a rather shallow pullback. I'm not in this trade yet. Now it's coming up to retest this trend line. I'm not in the trade yet. Now we did get the cross. Here's the green cross and the yellow. It hasn't closed. Actually, we did get the close above it. So that right now, I'm going to take this one off. I like that wick. It came up here and a wick, nice big wick right here. Looking for it to come down. Came into my zone, so it did go back a little bit deeper, but did test this trend line. So right now it's trading besides between this point and this point. That's an 8-point spread. Not enough to take the trade, but this pullback was a nice little pullback. Now the question is that going to hold? Let's check our strength, see where the strength is. Yen, and we're talking to the yen CAD. That's pretty much even there. See, we don't have the spread. I don't have the spread that I'm looking for. Now, if we can get this thing to come down, break, come back in, retest the bottom of this trend line, we might get a break of this. Then we can go. Here's our first target area. This is the first zone between this green orange line, this line. It did come down. It closed below, pulled back, closed below again. Another pullback. If I can get there's another zone right there. Just popped in there. So now we have a level on a level. This is how you can stay out of a trade that's kind of iffy. It's starting to become less and less confirmed as it gets different levels coming in here. The whole range of this is right now, it's only 8 pips. If I get another close below this orange line and this trend line, I can use this for the stop, the other side of this, use this for the stop. That gives me about 10 pip, 11 pip stop, which is good.
Al, there's a question in the Q&A. Why are you taking the trade on the 1 minute? I'm assuming as opposed to the 15, like the arrow rules are.
Well, I've drawn my zones are drawn off the higher time frame. That's these orange and these my shaded areas. The 1 minute gives me that microscopic entry because I'm looking right now. I'm looking for the green and the yellow to cross and get all the moving averages in my direction. The lower the time frame, the higher the lot size. The higher the lot size, or actually the lower the smaller the stop. The smaller the stop, the bigger the position, and then you can get equal profit with less time in the trade once it breaks.
Yeah, you can also generally, as a rule, when you're going down to the 1 minute, your stop loss is going to be like 10 pips smaller than what you would use on another time frame.
Yeah, on the 1 minute, I can usually use 10, maybe 50. I usually use the 15 pip, and really do ever get stuffed out 15 pips on a from a 1 minute chart.
Yeah,
If I'm
like
on a 1 hour chart, that may have to be 100 pips.
Yeah, so you would say what, on a 15 pip stop loss, you might get stopped out like once a month?
Well, I say probably about maybe 10% of the time. If I take 10 trades, I may get stopped out once.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, that's actually really good.
Yeah, and if I do take a loss on the trade, I can usually take it for less than the 10 pips, because the price action is going to tell me to get out. When the price action starts to change, like in this particular case, this thing could very well start to change now it didn't break this high on this pullback, but if it comes back up and breaks through this trend line, we could very well be going up higher. And then this would be, if we get this, then this would be the new target, which is, but again, that's only 9 pips away. But if we look at the zones, my orange zones here are basically, I have about 6 pips. It's a little bit tight on the zones. But I usually go for 5 to 7 pips. I usually start with 7 pips target, and if it comes to anything over, if it struggles at 5, then I'll just take the trade. I'll take the trade off and take my 5 pips. But a lot of times I'll just go and if I wait long enough, it'll go and take that my 7 pip, and sometimes I can get more of a target. But right now everything's sort of consolidating right in here. You can see where all my moving averages are all getting really kind of tight, and I can't quite decide which way to go on this. So these are the ones you kind of want to stay out of until you get a confirmation. Once it breaks out of this zone, then you could be looking for it to go either come up to retest these blue zones right here. But right now it's kind of right in the middle, kind of favoring to the downside, but it's not confirmed yet. Here's a high, here's a lower high. Here is a near hit with the trend line. If I drew the trend line, I could have used this for the first hit, but as you see where the second one has strong rejection, then I consider that to be a near hit. This is the next hit. This one came up very close, couldn't quite make it. Now it's coming back up to retest it again. So right now there's a lot of indecision in this whole thing. You just don't really quite know which way it's going to go. This was a strong, big wick. Once it came up here, the sellers took over. That's what drove that price back down on that 1 minute candle. This 1 minute candle, if you look at from wick to wick, that's a 7 pip. That's a 7 pip move in 1 minute. Here you're having from here to here, you have a 2 pip move in about 10 minutes. So you can see that it's starting to gain volatility right now. Right now we just don't really know which way it's going to go, and people are getting they're getting rinsed because of this strong move up. And now what time is it here? We might be looking at a 8:22. Were there not any announcements? Let's see. Check our news here. Let's see. News. I see we're at 8:30. Anything at 8:32? It's Tuesday. Wednesday, Thursday. We have a little bit of news at 8:30 with the U.S., which is right. This 8:15 to 8:30 with some orange folders. That could be having some effect on this. Right now, it's range bound, and the range is too tight to take any trades. That's only an 8 pip range from top to bottom. We need to see a break, and even if it breaks here, you're going to be running into these little zones right up here at the top. So you could possibly, if it breaks to the top side, breaks to this one, comes back down, it could take, but it's going to have a little bit of a problem getting through this one. Then it's got this one to get to. So it's not an ideal trade. There's some, I said, if they're not good, there's plenty coming down the pike that are much better. See anything here? Take a look at our German 30. Could be looking at this here. Get my other chart up. Here's a strong move up. See, this is on a 15-minute chart. I like this move. Here's the origin of the strong move, and it hasn't really been tested yet. All the way down here. This is what actually was just tested right here. So if we look at this move, how many pips is that? See, in dollar. This is on the German 30, so we're looking at dollars or euros. And that's from 615, 685 to, yeah, there's plenty of room to the downside here. So right now, what I'm looking at with this is, here's our strong move up, came back down, now it's retested this. And that was a strong move overnight. This was yesterday's close. Here's the overnight low. This is a strong candle push up, a 15-minute candle, but here's our zone. Let's see something here. Let me think if I want to do this. Here's our green zone. Let's move this down a little bit since this one's tested right here. I'm gonna move it just a little bit lower. If I move to the top of the green zone, that should work here. Came into the lower 25, pushing back up. Here's our 3 to the upside. There's one. I do like the German 30, but you have to be careful with it. Make sure your lot size isn't too big. Here's the top range. Here's the top 25. There's the lower 25. This is all in the day's range. It did break yesterday's money zone range, which is a really tight range yesterday when you really look at that. See, you had that range from here to here. That looks like about $74 or 74 euros. Bigger range today and higher lows or lower lows on that. Here's the down move. All the moving averages are in the right direction almost. They did cross over the 200, the 5, the 13, the arrow, and the 62 are all pointing down. Here's a pullback. We'll go to a lower time frame. Redo my Fibonacci's. Get these old ones off. Get the new ones on. We'll see if this can close above. Let's get on to 5-minute chart. I'd like to see a 5-minute candle close, more so than a 1 minute. I'd like to see the 5-minute candle close above these zones on the way up. So right now I'm looking at this thing as possibly moving from, this is actually a pullback right now. I'm gonna take it from this point. Here's a strong move down, pull back, strong move down, pull back, strong move down. Now it's gonna be retesting this whole move here. So we have our 3 levels pullback. So if you look at it from an Elliott wave type of standpoint, you could be looking at this as be wave 1, wave 2, wave 3, wave 4, wave 5, and it's kind of working on wave 6. But it's coming back to retest this little area right in here. So this is the part that I'm looking at to see if this will hold. This little area will hold. And then we'll take the Fibonacci's from this zone down to where the rejection was. And I'm looking for here's the 23, 30. So right now we're at a 50% pullback. And let's see where the euro is real quick. The euro is kind of weak, kind of weak, kind of weak, kind of weak, which means the indexes should be stronger. We'll see how far this thing pulls up. It could be, I would not expect, I would expect this area to hold. Here's my trend line. It's come up to 50%. Came up to the 50% line. So right now we're going to use this. Looking at the 1 minute chart. I'm looking to see for the, right now on the 1 minute chart, all of our moving averages are starting to come into the right direction. Here's the green, the yellow, the blue, and it's going to bounce off of this. Now the question is there enough room to the downside from 15,524 to 15,400? That's about $25 move. So this thing could possibly come up. We could possibly take a trade in this to go short. But I would want to see the green crossing the yellow first before it does. So if it pulls up enough to where the green can cross the yellow and still have enough room to the downside, then we can take the trade. But right now, this is just a strong pullback. And we don't really know where it's going to go, but we do have this little area that is coming to retest. So this is a drop, a base, a drop, coming back to retest this zone, which is right where our 61% is. And we'll see what happens in this little area right here. I want to see this green come down, close, give us another little whoop-de-doo there. Right now it's looking more and more like it wants to come up, come back here, retest it, and then go up higher, especially after that strong move from the overnight. I'm going to go to my 5 minute chart on this one. And see if I can get a 5 minute close above this orange line. Right now it's wicking right above. If it can't close above this, it still may want to come out back down and retest this trend line, this bottom trend line, which is not a trend line yet, it's just a projection. Right now we do have a trend line. This is kind of a wedge. Strong move down. Here's our first rejection. This is our wedge right in here. We'll see where this thing stops. This would be the target. Let's see if we can pull back enough to get about $10 move out of this. It's around 24 to, that's about almost $50, $40 move here. You can see how this blue arrow moving average was respected all the way down on this down move. Came back up, tested it, consolidation, tested it. Right now it's testing this little area right in here. And I probably will find some form of rejection. Let's see where the euro is. Euro is still in the middle. It's in the middle. It's in the middle. It's in the middle. Euro is not overly conclusive to its strength or weakness. I'm actually kind of looking for this zone to hold and then maybe get us a chance to go short on this. Expand this out. Now, if I do take this thing short, my stop is going to be up here. I want to see this green cross and close below the yellow. And we have a little bit of a zone here. We did get a 5-minute close above this line. Now I'm looking for a pullback. And I don't know if the pullback is going to be enough to take it short. So right now we don't have any real clear indication which way this thing's going to go. Is it going to break to the upside? It crossed over here, closed above. Now this could be the next target, but I would expect a pullback first. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to redraw this fib and looking at this as being the strong move up. It's coming up into the zones. Looking at it's challenging this. If it can break above, we have a little bit of a trend line up here. Here's the anchor. There's a hit. There's a lower. I like this line right here a little bit better.
Apparently gold has been dropping and it's touched the support zone on the 1 hour.
Let's see. Let's take a look at that while we're playing around with this one. So I'm looking at this thing right now. I'm looking at this thing going from up here, coming back down, retest, and then go up higher. This is pretty solid. This is a pretty strong move up. Let's take a quick look at gold here real quick. Oh, yeah. Again, we want to see, we can draw that other one. So this trend line is no longer valid, so I'll take that one off. We came back down. Here's our blue zone. This could be a point where it's going to start to reverse. We've got to see it come back out. It tagged it, come back out. Another zone here. What's that one? Well, that's the arrow. That's the arrow money zone. That's what that is.
Yeah. Question for you. Have you traded the US 30 at all?
I do not generally trade that.
Okay, I'm just trying to figure out what a $33 move would be worth.
That I do not know.
Oh, okay. Anyway.
Let me have a look, Matt, see if it's on my list of one of the ones that I was looking at.
Yeah, because I've remember what we were talking about? Well, I was able to get into it's going to work on all the indices, especially US 30, because that thing moves even faster than German 30. And I was staying away from German 30, so I'm just evaluating it to see how it moves. But so far, so good.
So what is it you're looking for to see?
To see if the strategy is going to work. And so far, so good. The one that we were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
So far, so good.
That's the Bollinger Band that we were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
That we're going to. We'll get
with
to
the
that.
wedge break.
Yeah, we'll introduce that some point down the road. We'll probably introduce that when it seems to be working out. Like I said, right now we don't. Right now I'm looking at this thing being it's crossing over everything right now. So right now I'm looking at this being the move up. We don't know where it's going to end. It's breaking through this zone. This was the zone we were looking at earlier as the pivot that it needed to kind of get through that, and you can see it's starting to come into that area right in here. I would expect a little bit of a turnaround, come back out. It did cross over here. It's making new. It's now it's heading up to this one. If it comes back up, it may not tag that yet. We may get a pullback first before it comes up and tags that. If it closes above it, we got a trend line right here. If it can close above that trend line, then we'd be looking at this one for the fact this thing has just a strong move down overnight. I think it's just time. This is more than likely it's going to be giving up some of that to the as the day progresses here. So right now I'm looking at this being a long. I'm looking to see. I don't know where this thing's going to stop, but wherever it stops, we're going to be looking for the pullback into the 23 to 50 area, and I'll probably. So I'm going to take this little zone right here. I'm going to pull this down to the 23 here. This is my new zone I'm looking at for it to pull back to once we figure out where it's going to stop. Take this over here just like that. This is a nice strong move up. I'm going to wait for the pullback for it to go. And it probably looks like it's going to be challenging this little trend line right here. See the bottom. I'm trying to get to the bottom of my chart here. Just readjusting this in my screen. I'm going to be able to see these time frames. Right now we got the cross. Right now it's starting to go into an uptrend. It's crossing over the 200 moving average. All the other moving averages are in the right direction, waiting for the pullback to the green, coming towards the yellow, which should be right about where this zone is. Make it just about like that. Again, we don't know where this thing's going to stop. It really hasn't given us the chance to get into it with any confirmation, with any odds enhancers in our favor. There's one strong move, though. And now we're challenging the upper trend line. I'm still waiting for the pullback. So this zone right here has been taken out. There's the upper 25% of this area. Here's the lower 25% of this up move. It's already scanned through two of these these zones to the upside. So now the question is this trend line going to break and come up and retest this? And is there room here to the upside if it keeps on going with a pullback? All of our moving averages are in the right direction. We gain the crossover of the 200. Let's see where this thing pulls back.
I have a question for you, Al.
Okay.
Why such a low time frame perspective for the German 30? Anything is possible on 1 minute. Why not view from a larger time frame and understand what the smaller time frames will have to follow? I
am doing it from the larger time frames. That's why I have these orange lines here from the higher time frame. These were drawn off a 15-minute move. This is the middle third of the 15-minute move on the higher time frame. Now I'm just trying to find out where this 1 minute chart falls into the play of that.
Let me interject something. So when we go down to the smaller time frame, so the lower the time frame, the lower the candle, the tinier the candles are. So what we're looking for is the specific action on the candle itself, so that we can enter on a 1 minute candle instead of entering on a 10-minute or a 15-minute candle. When you enter on a 10 or 15-minute candle, that 10 or 15-minute candle can be 7, 8, 10, 15 pips in size. But if you enter on the 1 minute with the same criteria in the 1362 flip, the moving averages that Al's been using, then you can get in much tighter. And that's, I hope that kind of adds a little bit of clarity.
Yeah. The tighter you can get in, the tighter the stop, the tighter the stop, the larger the lot size, the larger the lot size, the less of a move you need in order to become profitable.
We're not ignoring or just not ignoring the facts of the higher time frame.
And that's
we're
why
just finding.
Yeah,
we're just. Yeah, go ahead.
That's why I've got these orange lines. These are the higher time frame markers.
Yeah.
I'm just seeing how the lower time frame plays inside these markers.
Yeah,
that's so right now we have this strong move up. Now I'm looking to see how much of a pullback. Now, you can see that from the, again, this is a trend. This is a higher time frame trend line. This is the higher time frame marker to the upside. These are the middle third. Here's the top. Here's the top line of the third. Here's the middle line here. So this is the range right here between. This is our range. Right, come on. This is our overall range for the three, and we're looking at from 15,580, call it 582 to, this is a $60 move between here and here. All we're trying to do is get a $5, $10 mark out of this with a higher lot size. Now, right now, here's the push up, here's the pullback. I'm waiting for this thing to pull back into the 23. If it doesn't pull back into the 23%, if it pulls back into the 23%, I can still use this for the target if it reverses back up. And from that, I'm looking at 1539 to 15. That's a $20 move. I can make my daily profit with a 2% of my account lot size. With a $10 move, I can make my 1% or 2% for the day. But right now, in order for me to get into this trade, it's got to pull back into this area, the shaded area. It's already established that this is the upper 25%. This is the lower 25% down here. Here's my middle third of this lower time frame, which is right here, this 38.50. This is the zone right here. Here's my 38. Here's my 50. But I'm looking for the 23. I'm looking for it to pull back to the 23. Because a lot of times it won't pull back. If it pulls back to the 23, wicks down into that area, then I've got room to the upside. And if it does break, or if it breaks this, it comes back down, retests the trend line, then I have this for a target. And that's the upper line of the higher time frame middle zone. So all I'm doing is that basically I'm establishing what the sideways range is on the higher time frame, and I'm seeing how it's trending on the lower time frame to catch the trend. Here's a strong move up, small pullback, strong move up, see what the pullback is. Now, theoretically, I can go and pull to this area right here and see where the 25% pullback is, and that's going to be right in this area. So if this move is still strong, so I can tighten this up. And now I'll see if it's going to break. If it breaks, I can put my stop here. So rather than having to stop all the way down here and have a $45 stop, I can have my stop, if it comes back down and breaks to the top, rather than having a $45 stop, I can do a $18 stop or a $10 stop, and I can take 2 times the position size and get the same results. I like this strong move. This is a strong move up, looking for the pullback, but also we have this trend line right here we have to be concerned about. Again, if it can come back up, break through that, come back and retest the trend line, then we have a nice little shot up to this side. And depending on how deep it pulls back will depend on how deep I can expect it to go. Now let's look and see where the euro is right now. If the euro is so weak, if it's getting weaker, then we have a shot at it. The euro is in the middle, in the middle, in the middle. It's not overly convincing that the euro is going to give this thing up right away. Now, if the euro was all the way down here on these higher time frames, I would be all over this pullback. But right now, the pullback is a little bit undecisive. And is right now it's range bound between here and here. How deep it's going to come back down? It's probably a good chance it may come back down. If the 5 and the 13 cross, I can't take this trade until it crosses back up again. But now it's going to be more likely that it's going to pull back. The 5 is going to respect the yellow moving average on the pullback. And then when it starts going back up again, then I can jump into the trade. So right now I've got my 25% of this move. We'll see how far it goes down. Right now, if this shaded area can hold, if it wicks down below outside the shaded area and closes, I can still get into this trade because now I have this moving average as a support. We have a little bit of a trend on this. Just respecting that. We'll see how far it pulls back. If it doesn't give me a chance to get in, it doesn't give me a chance to get in. So be it.
All right. Well, we're coming up to the 9 o'clock hour, man.
Oh, we are. Oh, okay. Yeah, we're almost. Yeah. I think this is going to go. I think this one might be a possibility to take this thing long here. See how these are coming in? Just one more time here. Do you know if anybody's doing the 9 o'clock to 12?
I was.
Is that Corey? Corey's going to do that?
I'm not sure who's doing it, but I was told that there was a session on Thursday. So.
Okay.
Well, I've got to go. I've got a meeting
at 9
Matt. O'clock.
All right.
But...
Thanks for your help. We'll see you probably
later, Matt.
All right. We'll talk later on.
All righty.
And see how we're starting to get a green candle as this green did not cross over the yellow.
Gold is completely losing it.
Is it?
Yeah. Big, huge downward candle just on a... What am I looking at? The 1 hour.
One thing I don't like is I don't like the fact that this 5-minute candle did not close above this orange line. I'd like to see a 5-minute candle close above that. And we'll give this thing a couple more minutes before we leave. And I said we can maybe the next guy will continue this. So you may ask him about the German 30 and see what his analysis is on it. But right now, I don't think it's totally done. This is a strong move down, strong move back up. Now we don't know where it's going to retest. It could just be basing, going sideways for a while. But right now, we're looking at this. I'm looking at this moving average to be respected if it's going to continue to the upside. So I'm going to see a pullback and then see where this thing goes. Right now, it's pulling back to the 38, so I can actually move this thing down a little bit lower. And we're getting enough room to go to the upside. That's $12 move. Moving averages are still confirmed okay. Here's the wick. You just don't want to be in a hurry to take it. Just get everything lined up in your favor and then just take your best shot at it. But this price point did get rejected. It's coming out of the 23, coming down, and this is the pullback from this low right here. Here's the origin of the move right here. This is the origin of it. And it's going back to the 38. It did test this, but it didn't close above. I mean, it did close on 1 minute. It didn't close with a 5. I like seeing it close with a 5.
Yeah, I can see that wedge forming there at the top.
Yeah. But this moving average is still being respected. This arrow moving average is still being respected. So this is just, right now, to me, I'm just looking at this being a pullback from the strong up move. And with that, keep that in mind. Keep a look at it. Keep watching it. If it breaks through this trend line, you can probably go. This is a nice little pop right there. Just got the hour candle just closed, and now we're getting a little bit of a retest of the hourly chart. And I'm going to try to take a shot at this one. My stop's going to be down here around the 61. 15,535. 15,535. We'll make this one 35. 535. And my target is the break of that, and boom, I'm done. There's my trade for the day. Now, on that note, I'm going to shut this thing down. Any other questions before we go real quick?
It's already after 9 now.
Okay, all right, we're out of here. We'll talk to you later. See everybody tomorrow, same time, 7:39. See you then.